Welcome to Crypto Warehouse News. Today is the 16th of August. I'm Brogan and I'm with Mike.
Hello.
And we're going to be looking at blockchains and talking about their layers. So, blockchains, a bit like Shrek.
A lot like Shrek.
Yeah. And being like Shrek and the blockchains are like onions.
They are indeed. I think most people who aren't in crypto probably think that crypto and blockchain are all one thing. It's just all one great big mess. And in fact, the blockchain is built up of multiple layers which sit on top of each other, which enable us to get to the point where we have...
There's like a structure to it.
Yeah,
and at the
exactly.
end you get your applications.
Exactly.
But, onions have layers and they sit on top of each other just like the blockchain does. So we're going to be looking at each layer of the blockchain. And then at the end of it, we're going to talk about a thing called the blockchain trilemma. But, we'll get to that later on. So, layer zero. Layer
zero, yes.
The reason it starts at layer zero is because programmers, always start, things at being zero instead of one.
Yes.
So, you think it'd be layer one being the start.
Well, even though I've been in crypto for 6 or 7 years, I never really gave a thought to layer zero.
Yeah, I know. You're not really told that much. With crypto, there's not really like a handbook to many things. You don't really get told a lot of things, but
no, I would have said that layer one, which would be the Bitcoin and Ethereum layer. I thought that was the first.
Yeah, it'd make sense if it was.
But now that we've obviously done the research, layer zero makes sense.
Yeah. So this layer is like this foundation, right? This is what makes, the makes the blockchain. Everything else makes the blockchain, but is what starts the blockchain. And this includes the hardware, so like the miners.
Yep.
People mining on the blockchain. The internet and connections, so the connections to each computer. So some examples of blockchains are Polkadot, Cosmos, Avalanche, and Cardano.
Yeah, you see, Cardano is an interesting one because I've always seen that as they call it the Ethereum killer. It isn't really the Ethereum killer because Ethereum is more established, has more developers, etc.
Yeah.
But I would have had Cardano as a layer one.
Yeah.
I understand the rest of them because they provide the networking behind the blockchain. But Cardano is the interesting one for me because I wouldn't have had that as a layer zero.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, layer one's now. We think it should start, but it's not. This is the probably the most popular or commonly known layer.
Yeah.
And is like the foundation. Well, layer zero was like, what made like the networking of the blockchain. But this is basically the foundation.
Yeah.
Right, this is what everything's based off. And this layer kind of introduces the security side of blockchains, and this is because it allows for a thing called immutability, which means you can't, what is immutability then?
Immutability is where you have transactions being added to the blocks, which then get added to the blockchain, and they are validated by the network. So, for example, if somebody tries to add a transaction incorrectly, the consensus model stops it from happening because you have, for example, 1,000 validators. One of them tries to add a transaction which is wrong, and the other 900 will turn around and deny that block. So the immutability means that it has a what's the word for it? It's a fail-safe that stops the corrupt transactions being added to the database. Yeah.
And some examples, and a bit more well-known examples, other than layer zero, are Ethereum, Solana, Bitcoin, Celo, and Binance.
Yeah, so these are the household names.
Yeah.
So when you look at CNBC or when you look at online advertising, you're going to see the name Binance. You're going to see Bitcoin mentioned in the news, Ethereum mentioned in the news, Solana's always in the news. Well, in the crypto news anyway, for being up and down.
Yeah.
Because it's a new blockchain. So they're the household names.
Yeah. Now going on to layer 2s. So this layer is what introduces scalability and speed to the blockchain.
Yeah.
So the way that works, do you want to explain how that works? Or?
Yeah, so the problem with Ethereum is Bitcoin is built to be a store of wealth, store of value. So it's not really a transactional blockchain. Ethereum was built to be transactional. You were able to send NFTs to each other, buy NFTs, etc. The problem was it became too successful too quickly. So the transaction, the capability to add the transactions to the blockchain and the number of transactions was limited on Ethereum. So what happened was, for example, Polygon was created. And what Polygon does is it rolls up the transactions and reduces the stress on Ethereum.
Yeah.
So you had these layer 2s that basically solved the problem, which was that all of these blockchains had been created, but they weren't created at scale.
Yeah.
So you couldn't have 100,000 transactions a minute, etc. So that's where the layer 2 demand came from. And Polygon is probably the most famous of them all because it sits on Ethereum, which is the second biggest blockchain. The Lightning Network, which is the Bitcoin layer 2, hasn't really had the level of success which maybe Polygon has had.
Yeah. And the reason why, why I think like speed and scalability kind of go hand in hand, is due to the fact if you have a faster network, so if these layer 2s introduce the speed, is the reason why you can have scalability, because the faster it goes, the more you can do, which is the reason why it can get larger and larger.
Yes.
Yeah. So here some examples are Optimism, Starknet, Arbitrum,
yes,
Lightning Network, which is for the Bitcoins, and Polygon for Ethereum.
Yeah.
So layer 3s. So these are actually the apps which are built off of everything else, subsequent to it. So this is what you'd go to, as on a website, and like staking cryptocurrency and things like that.
Yeah.
These are
the DeFi platforms.
Yep.
They're layer 3s. The exchange platform, so like if you wanted to go and change Ethereum for Polygon, for example, that's an app that sits on top.
Yeah.
So there's your layer 3 there.
So other than what we've mentioned, it includes, basically we include financial instruments.
Yes.
Which is the staking, the transferring, gaming.
Yeah. So
you have games with, NFTs, for example, and this is a layer 3 because it's a game, it's an app. So some examples of layer 3s are CryptoKitties,
yep,
Decentraland, Uniswap, and Maker, which I haven't heard of Maker before.
Yeah, I mean it's been around for a while.
Do you know what it is? I don't actually
know. No, I mean the one that sticks out there for me is Decentraland because that's the metaverse. So a lot of the new metaverses will sit on top of layer 2s rather than layer 1s. So anything that's Ethereum based will sit on Polygon, for example. You're not going to find any of these layer 3s really on Bitcoin. Bitcoin isn't set up to be a
store of value.
Exactly, it's a store of value.
Yeah.
So you're going to find the layer 2s will be supporting the layer 3s. You do have some layer 3s sitting directly on layer 1s. So for example, OpenSea, for example, which is the NFT marketplace, you buy the NFTs directly on there, and those transactions are all carried out in Ethereum. So you have a layer 1 sitting on you have a layer 3 sitting on a layer 1, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's not a hard and fast set of rules, but for cost, you want to be building your dApps on the layer 3.
Okay.
On top of layer 2.
That makes sense. Okay. What's good about layer 3s and some of the other layers we've talked about, layer 2 bring the scalability and speed. What layer 3s bring is the adoption.
Yes.
So it allows for easy access to the blockchain, allow users to communicate with the blockchain and utilize it.
Exactly. We've said this before. People using Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, they're not sitting there actively knowing that they're on the internet.
Yeah.
They're on an app that's on their phone.
Yeah.
Eventually, some of these layer 3s will be built in a way that they will appear on your phone, and you won't know that it's the Solana network in the background or Ethereum. You're just going to know that you've got an NFT play-to-earn game on your phone, but in the background, under the surface, it's powered by Polygon, for example, which sits on Ethereum. So the adoption is going to come from the user interface. The same way that Sky Sports, etc. That came about because they gave you a little handset, but the technology behind it was advanced.
Yeah.
It's the same with this. You're going to be able to get Web3 phones in the future.
Yep, and I've seen actually. I can't remember exactly what it's called. I think it's like, I can't remember what it's called, but they're making a game system.
Yeah.
So a bit like the PS4 or PS5 or Xbox, they're making one of them with Web3 technology in it.
Wow.
So you can there's a controller, and you can use your fingerprint to allow transactions, and you can play all these NFT games.
Wow.
And connect your wallet for Raspberry. So they're already making stuff like that. So there's going to be a phone eventually in the future.
Yeah, I mean
the integrated properly.
Another example of that is SoulSwipe. SoulSwipe is a credit card that connects directly to your Phantom wallet.
I heard of that. I didn't actually know what that was. Oh.
Yeah, so that's something. But these are all things in the pipeline, and the layer 3s in the next 2 or 3 years, they're going to be the ones that bring the adoption.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Well, after talking about that, we're going to go on to the blockchain trilemma.
Yes.
So the 3 key pillars of this, trilemma are decentralization, security, and scalability.
Yes.
So the concept is you have to sacrifice one in order to use the others.
Yeah.
Right. So the whole the ideal, the optimum situation would be being to have perfect security, decentralization, and efficient and speedy transactions.
Yeah.
So the solution to this is layer 2s, because it allows for the really fast transactions. The security or decentralization, because it's on the blockchain, obviously, and it that uses the miners and the systems, so it's going to be decentralized, and they're secure because of the layer 1s. So using Polygon, I can't remember exactly what the other ones were, but Lightning Network and things like that. Allows you to kind of try and solve this problem.
Yes. If you take Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're both decentralized and they're both incredibly secure.
Yeah.
Neither of them can process transactions, and that seems to be the one that has been sacrificed, because you can't have a blockchain that's insecure, and you cannot have a blockchain that isn't decentralized, because that defeats the purpose of it. So the one that they have to sacrifice is transactions. And like you've just said, having your layer 2s like Polygon and the Lightning Network allow the load to be taken off Ethereum and Bitcoin to a certain extent. It allows the load to be taken off. But this dilemma has been around since, I think, the 1980s. It was actually invented way back when they were talking about computer systems. So this isn't a new problem. This is a problem that's been around for 40, 50 years. And blockchain has highlighted this as a massive issue. Now, if you take Solana, for example, Solana, for me, has sacrificed decentralization in return for security and speed of transactions, because it's not as decentralized as Ethereum or Bitcoin. And you can process a lot more transactions on it. So they've sacrificed their decentralization, which at some point they're going to have to try and improve, which they have improved recently. I think there are over 1,000 validators now. But the point of the matter is that of the 3, the one to sacrifice is transactions. And that's where your layer 2s come in.
Well, thank you for watching. That was a bit about layers and blockchains.
And if you've got any comments, please leave them below. We'd love to hear from you.
And make sure to like.